Barry Abrams in the gate. Podcast, ESPN.com. He joins us with a look at Saturday's Kentucky Derby here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Welcome, Barry. How are you?
Very good. It's the most wonderful time of the year with respect to those who think December is. How are you?
Doing well. Always good to get back to this time of the year. Last year we did something for the first time since 78. And let me ask you right off the bat with that, did American Pharoah last year pick up the interest? Has there been a carryover from last year's Derby season, with him winning that Triple Crown? Has that carried over?
Well, it's tough to quantify. I mean, it depends on what your metrics are. If you think that Victor Espinosa being on Dancing with the Stars is a measure of that, then okay. It's tough to say. There's no real central repository body. There's no Roger Goodell of horse racing. So there's no way to really quantify it. I think the only way, and again, it's hard to quantify, is I'm sure there were some people who were sitting on their duffs watching this saying, I like sports. I can't really own the Phillies or the Eagles. I can't own the Los Angeles Lakers, but I could own the winner of the Kentucky Derby. I mean, California Chrome the year before Pharoah 2 years ago only cost $10,000. Hey, I can do that. And there may be people who decided to get into the game because of that, but it's hard to quantify that.
This year's race, Nyquist is the leader in the clubhouse, 3-1 odds last I saw there. Muhammad is another one, and I see the draw, 13 for Nyquist, and will that be the unlucky number? What do you think about some of the favorites draws, Nyquist, Muhammad, who are two of the favorites in this one?
I think they're going to have a big problem here because all of the horses that want to go to the early lead are to their outside in the extra gate that's used for horses 15 through 20. And so they're all going to be trying to get down towards the inside. And I'm sure you know what it's like to be on the turnpike in the middle lane when somebody on the right cuts you off and comes across your bow, and you might say a few things or do a few things that you're not too proud of. And that may happen here. That may end up taking Nyquist and Muhammad out of their best trips. So the draw, I think, makes a big difference to them. That's why the horse that I like is a little bit to their inside, and that's Exaggerator, who has been pretty consistent running in California. If you believe that the California horses as a whole are the best group, Exaggerator is in that mix. He's going to have a better chance to get a good trip. He has a jockey who's won it 3 times in Kent DeSormo, and I don't even like him as much as I like his brother who trains the horse, Keith DeSormo. The last race that Exaggerator run was the Sant Derby, which he won. And his power rating, and every horse, as you may know, gets a power rating for every performance, so you can kind of quantum against each other. His Santa Anita Derby has the best power rating in this race. So if you believe that his best runs have come on wet tracks and that he can't produce that on a fast track, and the weather's supposed to be beautiful in Louisville tomorrow, as it is today, then you might not go for Exaggerator. But I think he's better than that. I think he has a very big chance here and can get the best trip.
Barry Abrams is with us, Kentucky Derby Saturday, and Gun Runners in the 5, Creators in the 3. So how important is the draw for this 1.25 miles?
Well, as we said with the speed, I think it's very important because it's going to be a kerfuffle, a gaggle, a schmozzle, if you will, trying to get down to the inside for those guys. I don't think it's as big a deal for the come-from-behinders, the closers. And just as the speed drew on the outside, all the closers, or most of them, drew on the inside. Normally, that's the kiss of death in a big field. You don't want to be on the rail. But when you're a come-from-behinder, like Trojan Nation, Sudden Breaking News, Creator, My Man Sam, Mo Tom, it really doesn't where you start because you're going to let the whole field walk out ahead of you anyway. So I don't think the draw is as big a deal for them. The question is going to purely be the traffic.
Barry Abrams, at B. Abrams Voice on Twitter. Victor Espinosa has won the last 2 years. He's got Whitmore at 10. What are his chances for 3 in a row?
That's a real confounder. He has not been fast enough in and of himself yet. But remember, these are 3-year-olds. They've only been racing a year. And so you're stretching them out to longer and longer distances. And so the longest these horses have run so far is 1.125 miles. The Derby's 1.25 miles. If you look at all of the 1.125 miles prep races, in other words, the most recent ones for the most part, the Arkansas Derby, in which Whitmore finished third, has come up the best when it comes to the last 3/8 of a mile, basically from the middle of the far turn to the finish line. That Arkansas Derby was run in under 38 seconds, 37 2/5, the only prep at that speed. That tells you that the three horses who finished first, second, and third, and Whitmore finished third, they're going to be coming at the end. I think Creator and Sudden Breaking News, who are closers, are going to have a little bit harder time because they have to navigate all that traffic. Whitmore is a horse that usually ends up a little bit further forward. If he can get himself further forward, he can try to avoid some of the traffic. If he can do that, and Victor Espinosa is his jockey, and he won five of the last six Triple Crown races, including the Triple Crown last year, he might have a shot. I'm just not sure that he's fast enough.
Barry, how much has this race changed over the years in terms of the way the trainers train horses? I mean, it seems like now in recent times the horses aren't being trained for 1.25 miles race like this, and that the Derby has changed over the last 10 years or so.
That's a good question. There are two ways that it's really changed. Actually, three ways that it's really changed. Number one, horses are not bred to go 1.25 miles for the most part anymore because for whatever reason that I've never quite been able to figure out, the breeders and their customers, owners, are fascinated with speed. They want horses that will run shorter distances, 3/4 of a mile, 7/8 of a mile, and a mile, as fast as possible. And so the distance horses, even though our most famous race, the one we cherish the most, is the Kentucky Derby, 80% of all races run in this country are at 1 mile or under. So that's one distance for sure. And that's why even though Nyquist doesn't have long-distance breeding, he has a lot of sprinting in his breeding, he's still the favorite for the 1.25 mile Kentucky Derby. So that's one thing. Number two is that horses don't run as frequently as they used to, even 10 years ago, and that really changed with the now late, great Barbaro, who won the Kentucky Derby off 5 weeks of rest, which was considered almost heretical at that time. Now, horses don't run more than every 5 or 6 weeks at all, not just in the spring of their 3-year-old year. So it certainly it changed that way, that horses don't prep as much for the Kentucky Derby as they used to. And number three, the way you qualify for the Derby has changed. It used to be that it went by how much money you won. And so you can have horses that bank a lot of money as 2-year-olds, but really don't develop into distance runners. They develop into sprinters, but they have the money to make the Kentucky Derby. And so you end up with this suicidal pace in the Derby with horses that you could just about throw out without any chance to win. Now you have to qualify on a point system. Churchill Downs sets specific races and specific point totals in those races to qualify, and the weight is towards the end, towards the most recent races where horses look like Kentucky Derby horses, and so you don't often get that suicidal pace anymore. So the race has definitely changed in all those ways.
Nyquist 7 for 7. It's a perfect record. Only 7 horses have won the Derby with an unblemished record. And last year, American Pharoah, it was 3 starts in a row where the Derby favorite would win. So Nyquist would have to do something that's kind of doesn't happen often here. Do you like the favorite?
I actually don't. He does check a lot of boxes. He's won on the West Coast. He's won on the East Coast. He's won on a fast track. He's won on a wet track. He's won when being up near the early leaders, and he's won when coming more from behind. So he definitely has done everything you could possibly ask of him. I don't like him for 3 reasons. Number one, we talked about his breeding. Number two, we talked about the traffic, and he's going to be right in the pathway of those horses trying to get to the rail. So he may have a problem with the trip. The other one that gives me pause is, and you can't quantify this, it's just a feel thing, is, these horses in the spring of their 3-year-old year are like teenagers. And, maybe you remember coming home in the summer from ninth grade, and then you come back in September and you see your buddy at the start of 10th grade, and he's 5 inches taller than he was 2 months earlier. And that's where these horses are. I think Nyquist was that 7th grade bully who developed early, and I think we've seen the best of him. Now, his best is very good, don't get me wrong, but I think there are others, like Exaggerator, who their best is still coming. They're still developing as teenagers. That horse you saw in April who was so big, he comes back and he's 4 inches taller. I think that's where some of these horses are.
So it sounds like you're leaning Exaggerator for the Derby on Saturday.
I don't want to give him a slam dunk category here, but I think he's got the best chance. I think he's a good animal. I think he gets the best trip. His jockey, Kent DeSormo's, won this race 3 times, and his trainer, who is Kent DeSormo's brother, Keith, is a guy I respect a lot. I think he's got this horse ready to go.
All right, Barry Abrams at B. Abrams Voice. For more on the Derby, check out their podcast, In the Gate, with a lot of good, more good information on tomorrow's Kentucky Derby. The Derby season is here. We'll see if 13's an unlucky number for undefeated Nyquist. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good weekend.